Hello everyone and welcome to TGN Anime's review of Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker. Bandai Namco sent us a review code for this, so here we go.
一気に型をつけさせてもらう。
Shinobi Striker is a multiplayer-focused game. There are 4 game modes that pitch 2 teams of 4 ninja fighting against each other. These 4 multiplayer game modes are the focus, but they're not all that exists. There are also a ton of missions that you can play either solo offline or cooperatively with up to 4 players. And all of this from the perspective of your own created ninja. So let's start there. Customization feels rather limited at first. There are only 10 hairstyles per gender, a lot of eye shapes and pupils look similar, and the same goes for eyebrows. Facial hair depends on the type of mouth that you choose, so you can't choose a mouth and a facial hair type separately. It's full of these small limitations that end up making this custom character not as unique as I would like. It's only when you jump into the game and start unlocking different things that customization really shows its true potential. There are hundreds, if not thousands of customization items to unlock. Accessories, outfits, new hairstyles, new face paints. When you start the game, you're only making a template. Your dream ninja is something that you build progressively. And that's something that the game does fantastically well, because Shinobi Striker has so many things to unlock that you keep wanting to work for the next thing. Like, oh, I'm really getting close to getting a new ranged jutsu, or one more mission and I get this customization item that I've been looking for. It is highly addicting because it's got this very satisfying feeling of progression. You're always unlocking stuff, even if it is just a bunch of scrolls. And scrolls in this game are like loot boxes. But you can only get them through missions, multiplayer, or buying them with in-game money. I haven't seen a single place that accepts real money yet. So no microtransactions for now. I'm still not a big fan of the way they did the scrolls though, because they're not always guaranteed an item. Sometimes you'll just get money. Sometimes you'll even get a duplicate item, something that you already had. So I can see this being very frustrating in the long run, when you're looking for a specific item that only drops from scrolls and you can't find it because you just can't get lucky. 1010 does sell you some weapons and customization items, but it's a limited collection. There's a lot that you can only get from scrolls, and I really wish they didn't drop duplicates or just straight up money. And that is the progression of this game. It's one of those that is really hard to put down because you're always so close to unlocking something. But of course, that only works if you enjoy the gameplay as well. And the gameplay of Shinobi Striker is rather unique. Running on walls, ziplining across huge gaps. It has a focus on mobility, from getting to point A to point B as fast as possible, that can be really satisfying. And then you have team battles using created characters, so you almost have to master 2 different skills with combat and movement. And there is a lot of depth to these 2 skills. This is a game that will take some time for you to learn, so if you are one of those players that also enjoys learning a game piece by piece and feeling that you're getting better with every game you play, there's definitely something here for you. And honestly, the description that I just gave you for this game is very unique. I can't really compare this game to anything else as far as gameplay goes. Structurally, you could say Xenoverse, but the gameplay itself, Shinobi Striker is a very unique game, and that's really impressive nowadays. Now, when you're starting out, it's not all fun and games. This can be a very confusing game, especially in team fights. You might think you're attacking, but suddenly you're getting knocked around or you're dead. And that's just because you haven't developed the awareness to know when you should and when you shouldn't jump into a team fight. Some jutsu just won't track the enemy very well, and while that might be because you're just throwing stuff randomly, sometimes things just don't work in Shinobi Striker, especially when it comes to tracking. That is just the way it is. And don't even get me started on the camera. Being close to a wall is your worst enemy, because now you'll be fighting the enemy player and the camera controls. And don't even think about locking on in this situation. Locking on removes your control of the camera, and the game isn't very good at giving you a good camera angle when you're in a small space, which leads to all sorts of problems with the tracking again, because now your jutsu is tracking the closest ninja because you weren't locked on to the ninja that you actually wanted. It's a messy game, and I don't think anyone can defend that. But when the stars align, and they do align quite often now, it is such a fun experience. To get a double or triple kill in Shinobi Striker is so much more satisfying than your typical multiplayer game. Because in other games, it also feels great, but you're not just executing well to get those kills. Here, you are also customizing. You are combining jutsu that you think will work great in your head. So when you pull it off, there's that extra satisfying layer. It is such an awesome feeling. As far as the online, the netcode seems great. There are very little instances where you'll feel lag in PvP matches, which was not the case during some of the previous betas they had. It seems they mostly fixed those issues. I haven't had a laggy match in the full game yet. The only lag I felt was during co-op missions, where I guess it's not as important. It's not a fun experience though, and mostly it's the reason why I decided to do most of the missions solo, but it's not as infuriating as having it happen in PvP. That's not to say the occasional spike won't happen, because it will, but a full laggy match is something I still haven't encountered in the full game, so good job fixing that netcode. Now, for as much as I love the gameplay and the progression, there are still a lot of things that I find really annoying. Many of the menus end up not being very convenient. For instance, the first beta had multiple loadout options to choose from before heading into battle, which makes total sense. There are 4 game modes. Each game mode would require you to use different jutsu, so you choose a group depending on which game you're playing next. But they've removed it. Now you only have 1 loadout per class, meaning that if the game mode changes, you have to go talk to Sakura, which means you have to leave matchmaking and all of that, and manually change your entire loadout. You can't even save to favorites or anything like that. You just have to manually change it every time you want to play a different game mode. Of course, you can take the same loadout to different game modes if you want, but if you're trying to optimize, if you're trying to win ranked or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna tailor your jutsu to the game mode that is active. Or even something simpler than that, when you switch from co-op missions to PvP. Missions reward such a different type of loadout than PvP, so going to Sakura in between those two feels like an extra step that is just unnecessary. Also, while we're on Sakura, a little pet peeve of mine: every time you get a new item, you see that exclamation point on top of it. It won't go away unless you equip the item. Why? I've seen it. I don't like it. I don't want to equip it. Can you please remove the exclamation mark? No, it's gonna be there forever. Well, guess I have to equip and unequip. Another unnecessary step. These are not major problems by any means, but they are nuisances that you have to deal with constantly. As Shikamaru would say, it's troublesome. On the other hand, I was extremely surprised at how good the missions were in this game. The missions are a lot of fun. There's a good variety to them. Sometimes it's a boss fight, sometimes it's gathering materials, sometimes it's protecting a gate. Damn, that one is tough. But please don't go into this game thinking that every mission on this list will be unique. A lot of them are actually the same mission, just on a higher or a lower difficulty. So this long list of missions actually has a lot of repetition. There's still a lot of variety though, and that's something that should be recognized. It's just not every single mission on this is gonna be different. Don't expect that. You'll find NPCs scattered throughout the lobby with quests. These NPCs will guide you through this series of missions that some people are calling story mode, so we need to put a stop to that right now. There is no story mode. There's no story here. There's dialogue, there are some very small cutscenes. That doesn't make it a story. But these quests are a nice guide through these very unique missions. It's a good experience, just don't call it story mode because it's misleading. Now, these quests are very well contextualized, and the main reason why I don't call it a story mode, it's because each quest acts as an individual event. There's no progression, there's no storyline. But if you read the text, you'll know exactly what you're doing, and that actually adds to the immersion of the game. Suddenly, you don't feel like you're just fighting the AI in a multiplayer map, you're fighting the Sand Ninja who have infiltrated the Leaf. And again, you can play the solo or online cooperatively with up to 4 players, and as I mentioned before, the only place where I ever felt lag was during these missions. So the netcode doesn't seem super optimized here, and also something that bothered me is that you barely feel any scaling for these missions. The difficulty when tackling some of these missions solo is tough. It's a hard game. It requires you to think and tailor your loadout specifically for each mission. Otherwise, you will probably fail. Once you join a squad of 4 players, they become laughable. It's like nothing scales. It's just 4 players that are doing the work that one person was trying to do on their own. 4-player parties make these missions stupidly easy. If you want the challenge, you play alone. If you want the fun, you play with friends. But why can't we have both? I would love a challenging group of missions with awesome rewards that I could clear with my fellow bush ninja. Think like a raid in an MMO. It seems such an obvious and actually also seems like an easy fix. And all of that put together brings us to our final score. And if you're new here, we score our reviews with letters. F and E are for the bad games, D and C are okay or mediocre, B and A are the good games. And this is my score for Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker.
Oi, oi, 力入れすぎでしょう。
Thank you for watching my review for Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker. Me and the Bush Ninja are already playing this game together, so if you want to join the squad, check out Patreon and see which tier you can use, like these top supporters on the left. But as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.